Good evening. This is Newsroom Live. It's 7 o'clock and we're in the Fox 5 newsroom here on the Upper East Side at our headquarters. We're here giving you a behind the scenes look at what we do here in the newsroom as we follow the top stories of the day. A live shot now of the White House. We know that today was important for New York City and all eyes on Washington as Zohran Mamdani, soon to be mayor, sat and talked and met with the president. We've been following this closely. We have Morgan Mackay, our political reporter on the ground there. And here in our newsroom, Brian Brown, political analyst. Thanks for being with us.
Great to be here.
So, I mean, first of all, a lot of people expected fireworks. We didn't get that, Brian.
No, we didn't.
What are your thoughts on the meeting today?
I thought the meeting was going to be cordial. I did not expect this budding bromance that we saw unfold before our eyes.
That's a way to describe it.
Well, if politics was a dating app, I mean, they'd be swiping right on each other by now because, I mean, it was really remarkable to see the camaraderie. You know, there were times where President Trump literally rescued Zohran from some tough questions. So it was really interesting to watch.
It's interesting, especially if you've been following this and kind of the dialogue, I mean, that from both sides, right? So I think those who supported Mamdani up to now, who continue to support him, they were kind of watching this and maybe a touch surprised. What are your thoughts on that?
I think everyone was surprised,
Yeah.
but I also think it's a good opportunity to step back because so much of our politics is winners and losers and who
Right.
won the day and who won the moment. And you're even seeing that language. Who bent the knee, who kissed the ring after the meeting. But what you really saw was two gentlemen who have a shared interest in a great New York City, you know, the most important city in the world.
Right.
And they wanted to do better. So, you know, for me watching it, I saw this is politics where we say politics is the art of the possible.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, that's nice thinking, and we know things change in real time, and Trump time is far different, so by tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
we might be having a different conversation.
Right.
But it did show two people who have an ability to make a difference in the lives of 8 million people, and can they do it together? We'll see.
You know, yeah, so this is unusual in that Mamdani isn't mayor yet, right? So
Correct.
usually we'd see the mayor of New York City possibly go to the White House after taking the position, taking the post, taking the office, so to
Yes.
speak, right? Can you kind of give us some insight into that particular part of this? Although I think everyone agrees that it was extremely important, but a little unusual.
Well, it was a very important meeting to have, and mayors do go down to Washington and get to know the president, mayors-elect. You know, 4 years ago, Mayor Adams left the White House, and he was touting himself as the Biden of Brooklyn. I'm not sure if Zohran is going to come out and say he's, you know, a MAGA Mamdani or anything like that, but it is important to have that relationship between the White House and City Hall. It's important, in particular for Trump, because he's a native New Yorker. So I think what you saw was a good first step. But we know, I mean, the campaign rhetoric was heated all summer. Zohran was made out to be something that was very different from what we saw today and what will win the day.
You're right. So the president, as you mentioned, from New York City, often says how much he loves New York City. And he did kind of echo that sentiment today at the White House, kind of saying that he's willing to work with Mamdani. And that's what we want, right? We want cooperation across political lines, local and federal. I mean, that's local, state, and federal, actually. That's what makes things smooth. It doesn't always turn out that way. But we did hear that, and we heard equal cooperation, I think, from Mamdani. I do think that, you know, he, the whole thing was very professional and kind of eventless if you expected it to be explosive.
True.
Yeah.
True, but to your point, it is important to have that relationship. There will be time for governing and there will be time for politics. Today was a time for getting to know each other. There will be conversations on the road about law enforcement,
Right.
about capital projects that have been canceled by the Trump administration. Can we get federal funding back? So there'll be time for that. Today was a get to know you. It was literally the first time they met each other in person.
Right.
You get caught up in the trappings of the White House and the Oval Office. I'm sure that played a part. But what you have really, despite their ideological differences, they really have a lot in common.
Yeah.
They're both children of privilege. They're both well educated. They're both very articulate speakers and great communicators. They both disrupted their own party apparatus. So when you peel away the differences, you know, at the core, they have a lot in common. And I
Right.
think you saw that today.
And they have so much in common through the lens of New York City. As we mentioned, the president, originally from New York City, always talking about how much he loves
Two Queens
the
people.
city.
I thought
Yeah.
Zoran, if it's a true story, it was a shrewd move, I thought, to mention the pharmacist on Hillside Avenue that remembered servicing Donald Trump's father, who was a customer. He certainly made it, all politics is local, and he took it right to Hillside Avenue. We know there's a real difference between Donald Trump's side of Hillside Avenue and some other parts, but it did show a commonality.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a good move on Zoran's part to kind of play that emotional card.
So from local to national, also to international,
Correct.
right? So New York City, let's be honest, internationally, when people look at the United States, they're looking at New York City. President Trump, obviously known around the world long before even his first 4 years at the White House, and of course even more so now. Mamdani, interesting, really the world didn't know him. Even locally, a lot of people didn't know him until the election. And we saw him kind of really pop up in dialogue, not just locally, not just nationally, but internationally.
Correct. And the mayor of New York City is often called the second hardest job
Right.
in America after being after president of the United States. So you saw those two dynamics at play. It will be interesting because Zoran, he's a great case study for an immigrant who comes to this country, becomes mayor of the largest city in America. And he can have that part of his biography that's always going to be there. But to your point, does he stick to local matters? Does it become more of an international thing? The mayor of New York City, by job description doesn't get involved in a lot of global affairs, but I think Zoran will, and he already has in the campaign. And what does that look like, and how does that conflict with the White House and their agenda?
Yeah, and we're going to continue to follow this here at Fox 5, of course. But, some things that they said they talked about today are things that we really saw throughout Mamdani's campaign: affordable housing, the cost of groceries, the cost of utilities, and the sentiment from President Trump, just kind of looking at it overall, not quoting here, but, we're going to support you. I'm going to support you. I want New York City to be better. We got to do what it takes. Good news for New Yorkers and Americans. I mean, that's the kind of cooperation we really want to see, and that we haven't really seen on a wide scale lately when it comes to politics.
No, we haven't. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
I mean, Zoran literally started his campaign right after President Trump was reelected, talking to Trump voters up in the Bronx. And I was raised in the Oval Office today. So certainly, they do have this affordability message that they shared in common. How do they get there? How does that conflict with some of the rhetoric that we saw on the campaign trail from Zoran, and particularly taxing the rich and raising taxes, and what does that mean? Because we know New York City is driven by a lot of it, corporate America and corporate taxes, and how does that conflict with the White House's agenda? And we also know looming large in 2026 is the midterm elections.
100%. And as we look at kind of how we started this conversation this evening, why did a lot of people expect it to be more explosive? Mamdani, self-described socialist, really aligned with socialist ideals. We've heard the president come out, right, and call him a communist. But on the other side of this, Mamdani has been really, really vocal about this concept of what we are, New York City. We are a city of immigrants.
Correct.
And we know that the administration has been very aggressive and taken a totally different stance on immigration than we saw under the Biden administration. So
Right.
we've seen polarizing ideals and a little snip, but none of that today.
No, and I think when it was raised, apparently in the discussion, they talked about going after the bad guys. And
Right.
they didn't really quite define what that means, but you could think it's more the criminal element as opposed
Yes.
to others. But I think what struck me, one of the many things that struck me, is Trump likes winners, and I think he likes to surround himself with winners. And right now, Zoran is a winner.
Yeah.
So power gravitates to other power. And
I
that's what you saw.
think, of course, we continue to follow this here at Fox 5, yourself as a political analyst, but I think today was a good day for New York City and for the country to see this type of camaraderie. It really was, I think,
For a
overall.
moment, the volume was turned down.
There you go. That's
And
a good way to describe it.
Absolutely, and I think that's much needed in our politics. Again,
Yeah.
where do we go from here? We'll see. But, I think it demonstrated that there is a place for governing, there is a place for politicking, and you can do both, but you could do it in a civil manner. What happens tomorrow, we'll see, we'll get there. But I think today was a good first step.
I like your volume down analogy because, I mean, we look at so many things that New Yorkers and Americans have been worried about. Affordability. I mean, that's not just a New York issue, right? It's a national issue.
Absolutely.
That government shutdown had a lot of people stressed out, a lot of workers still recovering from that, those workers that weren't getting paid. So I think, it was a volume down moment. We can have explosive headline every time we're looking at the news or reading the news,
and
right?
we need federal dollars. We need those federal dollars. Funding programs here in New York City that service those 8 million New Yorkers.
That's why the cooperation is so important. It's about the betterment of the city overall. And I think we saw leadership from Mandani today.
I think we did. And again, they're two very articulate, polished, generationally different, ideological divide, absolutely. But at the end of the day, they're two very good communicators. And it'll be interesting to see how their base interprets it. Does Zoran lose friends amongst the DSA because, perhaps they thought he was too nice to President Trump? Does Trump lose MAGA voters over this? So it'll be interesting to see how the party base reacts, but there'll be time for that.
Brian Brown, political analyst, thanks for being with us here.
Pleasure.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back soon. Friday, November 21st, 7:15 p.m. I'm Stephanie Bertini, and this is Newsroom Live. Welcome to the Fox 5 Newsroom, where we bring you behind the scenes and take a look at the main stories we're working on while letting you in on the process when it comes to gathering the news and delivering the news from local to national to international. A major national headline today. Mayor-elect Zoran Mandani was at the White House with President Trump. Before we took a break, we had a political analyst here where we were able to kind of break down what really was key moments from the meeting today. We want to actually bring you into the moments and the time, almost half an hour, that meeting. We want to show you the video. You're going to see President Trump meeting with Mandani at the White House. Here we go.
Well, thank you very much. We've just had a great meeting, a really good, very productive meeting. We have one thing in common. We want this city of ours that we love to do very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. He really ran an incredible race against, a lot of smart people, starting with the early primaries against some very tough people, very smart people. And he beat them easily. And I congratulated him. And we talked about some things in very strong common. like housing and getting housing built and food and prices, and the price of oil is coming way down. Anything I do is going to be good for New York. If I can get prices down, it's good for New York, and we've got them down, way down from last year. We have, as you know, I've been saying to a lot of people, Walmart said that Thanksgiving this year is exactly 25% less than last year, so that's good for New York, good for everybody. But I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have, hopefully, a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am, I will say. There's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please.
I appreciated the meeting with the President, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City, and the need to deliver affordability to New Yorkers, the 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the President, I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please?
President Trump, Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I've got a question for you and then also one for Mayor-elect.
Sure.
For you, you referred to Mr. Mamdani as a communist. Can you describe why you feel that way? And also, will you do anything to stop him from arresting Prime Minister Netanyahu if he visits New York?
Well, we didn't discuss your second part of the question. And on your first part, I mean, he's got views that are a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I changed a lot. From when I first came to office. It's now quite a while ago. It's quite a while. My first term was great. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We're doing even better now. We're doing much better now than we did even the first term. And I can tell you some of my views have changed. And we had discussions on some things. I'm not going to discuss what they were, but that I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he's going to be. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually, and some very liberal people. He won't surprise them because they already like him.
And Mr. Mamdani, it sounds like you had a productive discussion, but just days ago you referred to President Trump as a despot who betrayed the country. You said you'd be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks in order to improve your relationship?
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views, and what I really appreciate about the President is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers. And frankly, that is something that could transform the lives of the 8.5 million people who are currently struggling under a cost of living crisis, with 1 in 4 living in poverty. And the meeting came back again and again to what it could look like to lift those New Yorkers out of struggle and start to deliver them a city that they could do more than just struggle to afford it, but actually start to live in it.
And I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting. Maybe I think he'll change his mind after we get to working together. Yes, please.
Mr. President, from MTV Lebanon.
Good.
I would like to ask you a question about the Middle East regarding you said that Hezbollah in Lebanon is not in a good position, and Lebanon now is the final unresolved after Gaza and Syria. Given your assessment, like what do you say for the Lebanese today, if the independent state in Lebanon, and what is your next move to push toward disarmament?
Sure. Well, we are pushing for total disarmament of Hamas and, frankly, everybody else. And we actually have peace in the Middle East. As you know, the King of Saudi Arabia just left yesterday. We had some great meetings, and he's made a contribution toward the United States of more than $1 trillion. We have now over $20 trillion coming in. No country has ever had anything like that, not even close. If you go to 2 trillion or 1 trillion, it's a lot. We have 20 or $21 trillion. I think that Hezbollah has been a problem in Lebanon, big problem. We're working with Lebanon. We're working with everybody in the Middle East. That's another thing I think we have in common. We want to see peace in the Middle East, and we actually have now, for the first time, peace in the Middle East after 3,000 years. And now we're going to refine it, and I think you're going to see some very positive things happen.
There is a potential to invite the Lebanese president.
Oh, sure. Oh, I would do that, absolutely. And if the mayor would like to be here for that meeting, because I know he feels very strongly. I think you feel very, very strongly about peace in the Middle East. I think
we desperately want it, and that's something that I shared with the president, that when I spoke to New Yorkers who had voted for the president last November on Hillside Avenue and Fordham Road, I asked them why. I heard again and again two major reasons. One was that they wanted an end to forever wars. They wanted an end to the taxpayer dollars we had funding violations of human rights, and they wanted to address the cost of living crisis. And I appreciated the chance to discuss both of those things.
he said a lot of my voters actually voted for him, and
One in 10.
And I'm okay with that. I'll do that. I'll sign it. Give it to me. I'll sign it in a minute. That's pretty good.
Mr. President,
Yeah, please.
you threatened to send federal troops to New York City. You both have differences when it comes to ICE agents
Right.
in New York City. Mr. Mamdani, you called ICE a rogue government entity. I wonder how you reconcile your differences on both of those issues.
Well, I think we're going to work them out, and I think that if we have known murderers and known drug dealers and some very bad people, you know, we want to get them out. And the mayor wants to have peace. We discussed this at great length, actually, maybe more than anything else. He wants to have a safe New York. Ultimately, a safe New York is going to be a great New York. If it's not safe, no matter how well we do with pricing and with anything else, we can talk about anything you want. If you don't have safe streets, it's not going to be a success. So we're going to work together. We're going to make sure that if there are horrible people there, we want to get them out. I think he wants to get them out, maybe more than I do. So we'll work together. We discussed it at great length. Yes, please.
Yeah, two questions, if I may. One for you, Mr. President, from BBC in a second. But first of all, to the mayor-elect. You're both from different parts of the political spectrum. You're both populists, though. And I just wondered to what extent the president's campaign style, his techniques, his social media use inspired any part of your campaign.
Well, I actually told the president that, you know, so much of the focus of our campaign has been on the cost of living crisis. And when we asked those New Yorkers who had voted for the president, when we saw an increase in his numbers in New York City, that came back to the same issue: cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. And they spoke about the cost of groceries, the cost of rent, the cost of Con Ed, the cost of childcare. And too often politicians are looking to lecture to New Yorkers what they should care about as opposed to listen. And when we spoke to those voters who voted for President Trump, we heard them speak about cost of living. We focus on that same cost of living, and that's where I am really looking forward to delivering for New Yorkers in partnership with the president on the affordability agenda.
And I think we have to work a little bit. We talked about Con Edison. We have to work a little bit on getting the prices, because, you know, we've gotten fuel prices way down, but it hasn't shown up in Con Edison. And we're going to have to talk to them. You know, if we're sending them fuel at a much lower price than it was a year ago, which is true, we have to get Con Edison to start lowering their rates.
Absolutely.
And if I may, last week you told me you were pushing ahead with your plans to sue BBC for up to $5 billion. You were going to speak to Prime Minister Starmer as well. Is there any progress or any updates on those issues?
Well, we get along very well with the Prime Minister. We made a deal with UK. I like him. He's a fine person. And, you know, I think they have some big energy problems. You know, they've got windmills all over the place. They're going to have to start using other methods because their energy is out of control. Talking about in the UK, it's out of control. And he's got that problem. He's got a big immigration problem, as you know, and he's got a big energy problem. And we talk about it. He's a good man. Prime Minister's a good man. I haven't spoken this week.
Mr. President, have you spoken to President Zelensky, or do you intend to
Who?
President Zelensky about your plan? Are you going to meet with him?
I've spoken with their people. We have a plan. It's horrible what's happening. It's a war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I was president, and it's a shame. And I thought they should have acted quicker. But it's a cold winter, and a lot of the you talk about utilities, but a lot of the big energy-producing plants have been under attack, to put it mildly, to put it nicely. Yeah, we have a way of getting peace, or we think we have a way of getting peace. He's going to have to approve it. It's so sad, so many people. You know, last month they lost 25,000 soldiers. This is something, we haven't seen anything like this since the Second World War. And they're averaging 6,000 or 7,000 a week between the two of them, dead soldiers. And it goes on, and I think they're getting reasonably close, but I don't want to predict. I would have said that would have been one of my early ones. I did 8 peace deals of countries, including in India, Pakistan, You could even go, in fact, they're coming here in a week or two, go to the Congo and Rwanda. That was 10 million people dead, and we worked something out on that. But so many. And the one I thought would have been, for me, because I have a very good relationship with President Putin, I thought that would have been maybe quicker. But it does take two to tango. And now you just see all the death. And, you know, it doesn't affect us other than the fact that we don't want to see all those people that really, it's on the other side of the ocean. It's a war that should have never happened. It did happen. I blame the person also sitting right behind this desk. This is a war that should have never happened, and it wouldn't have happened if I were president. But we're trying to save a lot of lives. They're losing 25, think of that, 25,000 lives over the last short period of time. That's Ukrainian and Russian. And it's a shame.
What happens if I want to ask the mayor-elect about a House resolution just passed overwhelmingly to condemn socialism, including with 86 Democrats, all of House Dem leadership, and the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, despite his endorsement of you. What's your reaction to that?
I have to be honest with you, I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing...
Socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
And I want to clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. Your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
And Mr. President, I wanted to ask you also about this Ukraine plan.
Yeah.
President Zelensky said today that his country would risk either giving up a partner or giving up its dignity. There's been criticism that this deal...
You mean he doesn't like it?
It's unclear. He was sort of
Well,
pretending...
he'll have to like it. And if he doesn't like it, then, you know, they should just keep fighting, I guess, you know.
The suggestion that you made, though, was that if he doesn't accept it, that the U.S. would pull back its support for Ukraine. Is that
Well, at some
accurate?
point, he's going to have to accept something. You know, he hasn't accepted. You remember right in the Oval Office not so long ago, I said, you don't have the cards. Don't forget, I inherited this war. I would have never, this war never would have happened. I inherited this war. And I thought he should have made a deal a year ago, 2 years ago. The ultimate deal would have been if it never started. That would have been the good deal. That could have been done too if you had the right president, but you didn't have the right president.
Mr. President, cost of living is something that you and Mr. Mamdani seem to agree on.
Right.
Democrats have run New York City for a long time, Mr. Mamdani. Do you see Democrat policy specifically as being a problem? And I'd like that to be a question that both of you could answer in New York City.
Look, I think that there are many things in our city where we have to own the responsibility of it, things that existed long before the president was the president. And those are also part of the message of our campaign, was to take on a broken politics of the past. And I ran against a number of candidates who represented different versions of that past. And what we found time and again is that working people were left behind in the politics of our city. And what we're looking to do is put those people right back at the heart of our politics so that we don't have a situation where we're in the wealthiest city in the history of the world, and yet 1 in 5 can't even afford $2.90 for a Metro card.
Mr. President.
You know, we had some interesting conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have. But a big thing on cost, you know, the new word is affordability. Another word is just groceries. You know, it's sort of an old-fashioned word, but it's very accurate. And they're coming down high. They were, you know, we had, both of us, we had the highest inflation in the history of our country the last 4 years under the Biden administration. And we've got inflation down now to a normal number. It's going to go even a little bit lower than that. Katie, do you have something in a bit?
Mr. President, thank you so much. Mr. Mamdani often talks about New York City being covered by international law, that they will follow international law. Doesn't often talk about the U.S. Constitution. What is your response to that?
Well, I don't know what you're referring to in terms of it could be covered by international law, local law. It's covered by a lot of laws, but it's covered by U.S. law. Are you referring to anything in particular?
He just says that they're a city that endorses and enforces international law. Is that at odds with...
No, I don't know. Would you want to Do you want to respond to
Yeah,
that?
I think what I've shared with the president is our desire to not only follow the laws of our own city, laws that protect New Yorkers, but also a desire for consistency in our politics across the board. And that's something that we've talked about and something that I know many New Yorkers want.
We work with ICE. We work with ICE.
We discussed ICE and New York City, and I spoke about how the laws that we have in New York City allow for New York City government to speak to the federal administration for about 170 serious crimes. The concerns that many New Yorkers have are around the enforcement of immigration laws on New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, and most recently we're talking about a mother and her 2 children, how this has very little to do with what that is.
What we did is we discussed crime, more than ICE per se. We discussed crime, and he doesn't want to see crime, and I don't want to see crime, and I have very little doubt that we're not going to get along on that issue. He wants to, and he said some things that were very interesting as to housing construction, and he wants to see houses go up. He wants to see a lot of houses created, a lot of apartments built, etc. And you know, we actually people would be shocked, but I want to see the same thing.
Mr. Montgomery, anti-Israel protesters.
Jack?
Mr. President, I want to know one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mondani talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white-based communities and putting more taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general, and so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the president and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in our
But to
city.
be clear, you're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
That's what you said.
no, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
Mr. Montgomery, anti-Israel protesters
Please, God.
Mr. Montgomery, anti-Israel protesters just targeted a synagogue in New York. Are you concerned about Jewish New Yorkers feeling welcome and safe in the city? And President Trump, you threatened to cut off federal funding to New York City. What policies would prompt you to do that? Would that be city-run grocery stores? Would it be something else?
Well, I think if we didn't get along, whether it's cut off or just make it a little bit difficult or not give as much, we want to see, I use the term, we don't want good money going after bad. And we don't want that to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I did say that, you know, subject to what policies are being set. We had a meeting today that actually surprised me. He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down, all things that I agree with. Now, we may disagree how we get there. The rent coming down, I think one of the things I really gleaned very much today, he'd like to see him come down, ideally, by building a lot of additional housing.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate way. He agrees with that, and so do I. But if I read the newspapers and the stories, I don't hear that. But I heard him say it today, and I think that's a very positive step. No, I don't expect. I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help, because I want New York City to be great. Look, I love New York City. It's where I come from. I spent a lot of years there. Now I'm right here. We took a big setback with the mayor that we had, Dave de Blasio. I thought it was a tremendous setback for the city. I think this mayor can do some things that are going to be really great.
Mr. President,
Okay, how about you? Go ahead, please.
President, you're a billionaire. You have a different address nowadays than you used to, but you used to call New York City home. Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mondani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would. Especially after the meeting. Absolutely.
What makes you comfortable?
We agree on a lot more than I would have thought. I think I want him to do a great job, and we'll help him do a great job. You know, he may have different views, but in many ways, you know, we were discussing when Bernie Sanders was out of the race, I picked up a lot of his votes, and people had no idea, because he was strong on not getting ripped off in trade and lots of the things that I've practiced and been very successful on. tariffs, a lot of things. Bernie Sanders and I agreed on much more than people thought. And when he was put out of the race, I think quite unfairly, if you want to know the truth, many of the Bernie Sanders voters voted for me. And I felt very comfortable, frankly, in seeing that and saying that. And, it just turned out to be a statistical truth. But no, I feel very comfortable. I would feel very, very comfortable being in New York, and I think much more so after the meeting. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for you, but a very quick one for the mayor. Why did you fly here? Aren't trains greener?
I'll use every form of transit, and I want to make sure that they're all affordable in New York City, and that's why making buses fast and free is a centerpiece of our campaign.
There is a bus that goes.
Well, but I know, but if he flew, that's a lot quicker too. I mean, he's working very hard. For him to be, that's a very long drive. I'll stick up for you. The plane takes you 30 minutes, and driving takes you a
And
long
Mr.
time.
President, I was wondering if you could clear up some confusion around a Washington Post report. There was this explosive report that the Coast Guard is no longer going to characterize swastikas and muses as hate symbols. DHS called that a lie and fake news. Can you clear up?
I don't know anything about it. When was this written?
I think yesterday.
Well, look, the Coast Guard's an incredible group of people. I know them very well. We just ordered a lot of new Coast Guard cutters, beautiful, the most magnificent ship. They look like yachts with lots of guns on them. So I don't know. I haven't seen any report like that, but certainly we want them to remain a great force, and they are.
Mr. President, and you did a piece in all the 9 months around the world. I would like to ask Mr. Mamdani, you've accused the U.S. government of committing genocide in Gaza while President Trump was working on peace. Why that?
I've spoken about the Israeli government committing genocide, and I've spoken about our government funding it. And I shared with the president in our meeting about the concern that many New Yorkers have of wanting their tax dollars to go towards the benefit of New Yorkers and their ability to afford basic dignity. And what we see right now is we're in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 school children being homeless in our city. And there's a desperate need not only for the following of human rights, but also the following through on the promises we've made New Yorkers. And I appreciated the meeting we had and the work that we can do.
Do you agree that President Trump did do a peace and work hard to make the peace? Because he worked hard to do the peace in the Middle East and everywhere. Do you agree with that?
I appreciate all efforts towards peace, and I shared with President Trump that when I spoke to Trump voters on Hillside Avenue, including one of whom was a pharmacist that spoke about how President Trump's father actually went to that pharmacy not too far from Jamaica Estates, that people were tired of seeing our tax dollars fund endless wars. And I also believe that we have to follow through on the international human rights, and I know that still today those are being violated, and that continues to be work that has to be done no matter where we're speaking of.
Mr.
President, thank you, Mr. President. Do you view the mayor-elect as the true leader of the Democrat Party? And do you think Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries, have to follow his lead?
Well, look, I hope they have great leaders. This is a man that right now I think is focused on New York City. I really think he has a chance to do a great job. We're going to help him, but I really think he has a chance to do a great job. But I'll let you answer that. You consider yourself the leader of the Democrats? I think it's more appropriate for him.
I consider myself the next mayor of New York City, and I keep my horizons firmly on New York City, and I appreciate the meeting with the president, which focused again on the 5 boroughs and whether New Yorkers could afford to live there.
By the way, being the mayor of New York City is a big deal.
Absolutely.
I always said, one of the things I would love to be someday is the mayor of New York City. Being the mayor of New York, and especially now, because I think you're at really a turning point, one way or the other. It could go great, or it can go in a different direction. And I think you really have a chance to make it great.
Mr. President, you said you love New York City. Mr. Mamdani, does New York City love President Trump?
New York City loves a future that is affordable. And I can tell you that there were more New Yorkers who voted for President Trump in the most recent presidential election because of that focus on cost of living. And I'm looking forward to working together to deliver on that affordability agenda.
I got a lot of votes. One more. Go ahead. 1 or 2 more. Go ahead. I tell you, the press has eaten this thing up. I've had a lot of meetings with the heads of major countries. Nobody cared. This meeting that you people have gone crazy. Outside you have hundreds of people waiting. This is just a small little group. For some reason, the press has found this to be a very interesting meeting. The biggest people in the world, they come over from countries nobody cares. But they did care about this meeting, and it was a great meeting. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, I was going to ask exactly that. Why do you think there's so much more, so much excitement around this than in some form?
Because I think he's different. All right, I think he's different, and that can be in a very positive way. But I think he's different than, your typical guy runs, wins, becomes mayor maybe, and nothing exciting. Because he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point, and he does need the help of the federal government to really succeed, and we're going to be helping him. But he's different than, your average candidate. He came out of nowhere. I said he has a great campaign manager standing over there. He came out of nowhere. Would you start off at 1 or 2? And then I watched. I said, who is this guy? He was at 1. Then he was at 3, then he was at 5, then he was at 9. Then he went up to 17. I said, that's getting a little bit interesting, right? And then all of a sudden he wins a primary that nobody expected he was going to win. It's a great tribute. I mean, it's an amazing thing that he did.
And I'll just add one thing to what the president said. Is one thing I also appreciated is in our meeting to appreciate a portrait of FDR and the incredible work that was done with the New Deal, and also in thinking about what it can look like when the federal government and New York City government work together to deliver on affordability. It can be transformative.
We have a great portrait of FDR that I found in the vaults that was missing for years. I found it, and I put it up. He's a Democrat, to the best of my knowledge. He's a Democrat. And when the mayor saw that portrait, he said, "Sir, do you mind if I have a picture taken by that portrait?" It's an amazing portrait. I hope the picture comes out good. But it's an amazing portrait in the cabinet room. So he's a big fan of the New Deal, I guess, and of FDR. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said that you both spoke about crime.
Yeah.
There are many police officers set to come off the rolls at the end of this year in New York City. Are you going to allow those police to be replaced with police officers, actual cops? And are you going to require that that happens? Would there be some consequence?
Well, I hope it happens, but again, it's going to be ultimately the mayor's decision.
What's your answer?
Is that I look forward to delivering public safety with the NYPD, and I've said over the course of our campaign that we have the number of police officers today. They are the ones that's budgeted about 35,000 headcount. And I think the key thing is that we have to make it easier for police to focus on police work, not ask them to respond to 200,000 mental health calls a year.
So is that a reduction from what you're at right now? Or are you committing to maintaining the same level of cops?
I've committed over the course of the campaign to maintain the 35,000. That's the headcount that we had through the campaign.
And not replace them with caseworkers, social work?
No, I've said that's the headcount that we want. What we need to do is make sure they can focus on serious crime.
And he just retained a great police commissioner, I believe, right?
Yes, we did. Commissioner Tisch.
If the newspapers are correct.
That one they're correct about.
He retained, I think, somebody that is she's a good friend of some of the people in my family, of Ivanka, and they say she's really good, really competent, and he just retained her, so that's a good sign.
Are there still topics that you see the two disagreeing on in the future, and do you think you'll have more meetings like this?
There will be topics that we disagree on. I think we'll probably come to a conclusion, and ultimately, he'll convince me, or I'll convince him. It's for the good of New York. Ultimately, it's for the good of New York. I don't care about affiliations or parties or anything else. I want to see if this city could be unbelievable, if he could be a spectacular success, I'd be very happy.
Do you think you guys will meet more in the future, too?
Excuse me?
Do you think you'll meet again in the future? Throughout the initial?
I think we will. Yeah. I think we will. I hope we do. I enjoyed the meeting. We had a great meeting. Please.
Mr. President, Republican Elise Stefanik has campaigned multiple times by calling Zohran Mamdani a jihadist. Do you think you're standing next to a jihadist right now in the Oval Office?
No, I don't. But she's out there campaigning, and you say things sometimes in a campaign.
Isn't that sort of
She's a very capable person. But you really have to ask her about that. But I don't particularly. I think I met with a man who's a very rational person. I met with a man who really wants to see New York be great again. And I can say again, because New York was great. When I came down to Washington initially, the city was so hot. It was doing great. We were having some telltale signs of problems. We had a mayor that was not doing a great job, but still, it was moving along. And it went bad. It really went, pretty bad. And I think it's been at lower points, but it went pretty bad. I think he can bring it back. Now the question is, will he bring it back all the way? Will he bring it back greater than ever before, which is, I guarantee, that's his wish. I think he wants to make it greater than ever before. And if he can, we'll be out there cheering. I'll be cheering for him. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
New York City making history. Our soon-to-be mayor, Zohran Mamdani, meeting with President Trump at the White House today. You just watched the full cut of that from earlier today. We're going to take a break. When we come back, pennies going away? Yes, it's true. A rare coin expert is going to be joining us here on Newsroom Live. It's 7:47. Happy Friday, everyone. Stay with us. Friday night in the city. This is Newsroom Live. I'm Stephanie Bertini coming to you from our Fox 5 News headquarters on the Upper East Side. You might have heard this headline earlier in the week. Pennies no longer being minted. Pennies going away. So this has been a talker, and we have a rare coin expert joining us live now, John Krelovich. Hi, how are you? Thanks for being here on Newsroom Live. We are excited for your insight and expertise. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
So tell us a little bit before we get into this right away, your background, your expertise in rare coins. Some of these coins can be very valuable.
That's right. Yeah, I started as a kid, like a lot of people. It was a hobby that I turned into a career. And for 25 plus years now, I've been associated with Stack's Bowers Galleries, whose main office is on Park Avenue in the city. And I catalog some of the most expensive coins known to man. So I've gotten to see pretty much everything over the years.
So pennies are going to be worth more and more. It's funny, a friend of mine said that her son, he said, Mom, I got to make sure to collect some pennies now because there's going to be no more and they're going to be worth a lot of money.
Well, some will be, and some have been for a long time. I mean, we've sold pennies for well over $1 million at the auction firm where I work, but the pennies that you spend on a daily basis, since 2020, they've made 31 billion of them, which is about 10 times more than McDonald's has sold Big Macs.
Wow.
They're probably not going to be real rare anytime soon. That's plenty of pennies for everybody. So I don't expect the ones that are in your pocket to be worth more than a cent. We do call them cents, not pennies. I don't expect them to go up in value rapidly anytime real soon.
So exactly, to your point, although they're not going to be minting pennies anymore, the pennies are still going to be in circulation because, as you said, there's a lot of them out there.
There are. I'm not throwing mine out, and I don't suspect anybody else either. And pretty much every penny we've ever made still exists.
So some of the last minted pennies or cents, they were a little special. I was reading that. So they made sure to end it off with a special little touch, so to speak.
That's right. Yeah, they call them a privy mark at the United States Mint. They applied an omega character, the final symbol in the Greek alphabet, to represent this was the end of the line. And they struck 232 of those with the omega character on them. And Stack's Bowers Galleries will be selling all 232 of those at auction next month.
There we go. So people might not know this, but I was reading this and then vetted it with you before we came here live. It was actually costing more to make the pennies than the pennies are worth.
That's right. In recent years, it's cost about 3.5 cents to make a cent. So it doesn't make a lot of economic sense to be spending that much to make a penny. And nickels are in the same boat. Nickels cost more than 5 cents to make as well. So maybe we'll see those end their run here in the near future as well.
You know, this is your world, right? Like you mentioned, you've been interested in coins basically your entire life. But for the general public, for people, you know, who are just kind of interested in the story, we have seen a lot of engagement about this topic on social media, in everyday conversations, and basically people of every demo and age group. Why do you think people are so interested in a story about pennies going away?
Well, a few things. First of all, everybody knows coins. Everyone has an intimate, familiar relationship with them and has their whole lives. But everybody loves a treasure hunt, and everybody wants to find something that will make them suddenly wealthy. And honestly, that happens. I mean, we've had things come out of people's closets that were worth millions of dollars, and things that were found by metal detectorists or shipwreck hunters that were worth a lot of money. There's not as much in your pocket change anymore that you can look for to get rich off of, but people do still find things in circulation from time to time that are worth a premium.
And let's get to the practicality of this. So we established already coins that are 1 cent, so the penny will still be in circulation. So when you go pay at the register, if you pay cash, a lot of people don't use cash anymore. They're either tapping or using their cards, right? But let's say you're paying cash. So are pennies going to be exchanged, or are they just going to kind of be there, find a penny, pick it up, but really you can't really use it in the store? Or are you going to be getting pennies if you pay cash when you get change back?
I think they'll still be seen as much as they have been seen in recent years. Every coin the U.S. Mint's ever made remains legal tender. So if you want to spend a penny from 1793, you can still spend it. And I think just the same way that most of us kind of avoid carrying around a pocket full of pennies, that's not going to change in the future. So, you know, if you've got a penny in your pocket and it's convenient to spend it, spend it. And if someone offers you one, it's still legal tender and it's still worth a cent.
Right. So again, they're going to be in circulation for a while. You know what pennies are good for? Throwing the coins into the wishing well, into the water. My son loves to do that.
Yep. They're good for lots of things. And, you know, spending money will be probably the last thing they're good at.
So just to break this down a little further, for people interested in the world that you are so connected in, you mentioned that, you know, the pennies that you already might have, let's say in your wallet or maybe in your house, maybe you have a change bowl, maybe you have a piggy bank, they're not going to be particularly worth a lot, especially now when it comes to the rarity, to the collecting. But you mentioned that there are some special pennies that have been worth a lot of money even long before this decision was made. Can you kind of break that down a little bit, and the differences or what we should know?
Sure. So coin collecting and the value of coins comes down to supply and demand, like everything else in the world of economics. And coins that are very, very famous, but very, very rare, tend to be worth a lot of money. So in recent years, the things that have been very scarce but very desirable have been mint error things that the U.S. Mint maybe stamped a penny twice or this sort of thing. And sometimes those do come up in circulation. I saw one of those come into our store this weekend where someone had a cent that was actually struck on top of a dime. And that's a coin that's worth several $100s that this woman had actually found in her pocket change.
Wow.
Now, in other things, like in 1793 was the very first year they made cents. They made 3 different types. So each of those types is very rare. So someone who wants a 1793 chain cent, for instance, in absolutely terrible condition, and condition matters a lot, just like with a used car or something, in top condition, that's $1 million coin. And even in very terrible condition, it's still $10,000 or $15,000. So collectors like to collect, and they like to compete against collectors, and everybody wants the thing in the best possible condition.
So much insight. So last question for you. Did you know this was going to happen? Were you expecting it? Do you have like some special insight like that the general public doesn't have about, you know, specifically these pennies, that they were going to be going away? Or did you find out with the rest of us?
Well, I found it with the rest of us, but I will say that it has cost more than a cent to make a cent for decades.
Yeah.
So when this happened, we in this business, we all kind of shrugged and said, it's about time. It's been foolish to make them for a long time, and inevitably they just end up in the dish or the bottle or the box in someone's cupboard. So not a great surprise to us, but no, we didn't have any kind of inside scoop.
Well, to your point, that's been cited as the practical reason. Of course, people are full of nostalgia, and they don't have to have those feelings just yet. As you pointed out, the pennies will be in circulation for some time still, right?
And they'll still be making them for collector purposes in annual proof and mint sets. So, you know, the penny's not going away. They didn't make the penny illegal. They merely suspended its production for circulation purposes. But if you buy an annual set from the mint, there will probably be a penny in there for a good long time to come.
Yeah, and of course, currency changes are nothing new if we look at it like globally. But, you know, it's a talker for now. It was a big headline this week. Thank you for being with us.
Of course. Thanks for your questions. I appreciate it.
John Kralovich, thank you so much for joining us. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with someone that I'm excited is finally back in the newsroom. I have Teresa Priolo here with us, and much more to come here. Stay with us. It's Friday night, and that means the weekend's here, and that means people care about the weather, and Liv Johnson's here.
And Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, guys, I'm trying to clip this.
Do you know my son has the whole week off? Is that like a thing in New York? I'm like, what? I thought it was a couple days Thanksgiving.
Well, wait, and don't they have like fall breaks too?
Yeah. He's been off quite a bit. Since school started, but to your point, as we look at the forecast, people are like, "What's the Thanksgiving weekend forecast?" To me, that's kind of weird because I think like next weekend's Thanksgiving. I mean, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah,
Saturday.
next weekend is Thanksgiving. But I guess
people are talking about
starts.
Right.
And I guess if you're taking next week off, or maybe your company allows you, then you would leave like tomorrow.
Yeah.
So,
you're like
anyways,
my son Zane, living the good life off
never
all
going
week.
to school.
Liv Johnson. So what do we need to know about the weather? Raining tonight, kind of?
Okay, so yes, we will get rain kind of tonight. It's kind of tough when you forecast, and I'm up there like 2 a.m. to me is still nighttime, but technically it's a.m., it's morning.
It's overnight.
So
it's morning.
Yes, it's late night into Saturday.
Yeah.
So we do have some rain Saturday morning.
Okay.
So basically it starts around 2 or 3 a.m., lasts until probably 10, 11 a.m.
Okay.
Maybe there will be a lingering sprinkle till noon, but for the most part it's out by late morning. And then it's 53 on Saturday.
I was gonna say.
It's really not a bad weekend. Sunday, a little cooler, but still it's actually going to be a really pleasant Sunday.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Monday, it's warm, 54. It stays warm all week. I mean, look at Wednesday. We think we might even break to like 60 on Wednesday.
Wow.
But then we have rain Tuesday into Wednesday. Thanksgiving, Thursday looks nice, right? It's cooler, obviously, but still sunny. And now we just have to see about the winds, because that's always the only thing we worry about for Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Yeah, and of course, anybody planning to go to the parade kind of will have their eye on the forecast because they want to know, you know, what do I wear? What do I put on the kids, right?
Right. It's the only thing. Wind is the only thing that causes them to cancel it.
Yeah.
So even if it, yeah. So I think so far that's not really on our mind, but as we get a little closer, we'll see what the wind forecast is looking like. But yeah, I mean, that's not a bad spread of weather. A few showers here and there, but not like all day, not too much rain. And then it's much more mild next week.
I gotta tell you though, this week, reporting at night a couple weeks, I'm feeling it. I'm like, it's
Monday,
here.
Tuesday, and Wednesday were kind of brutal.
Yeah. So that was the 7 day ahead. Yeah, and this week we kind of started, we're feeling that fall kind of I saw something on Instagram that said, fall wants to be winter so bad. I don't think it's that bad.
Well,
but
I do feel like since the official start of fall season, it's been like half the week, okay, it feels like fall or even winter.
Yeah.
And then the other half of the week is a huge warm up. And I also feel like that's why people are getting sick. I know we're like into flu season and stuff too, but when you have 60 on Sunday and 40 on
like
Monday,
roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we kind of have that, as you saw. On Wednesday, we're expecting 61, and on Thursday, we're expecting a high of 48. So it's still kind of going up and down, but yeah.
I love the fall for the colors, the outfits, but I like it like there's sun and I can walk outside.
Right, exactly.
I don't like it when it's reminding me of what's to come.
Yeah, exactly.
The winter that's to come.
I agree. And so next week should be good for you.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
And this weekend.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Favorite season?
Summer.
Summer.
I'm kind of a year-round summer girl.
I get it. That's not what we have here, but I do get it.
But I like the fall.
Yeah.
But usually, yes, it does signify that winter is coming.
The winter is to come, yeah.
But yeah, I really love summer. I love the heat, even
Rick
here.
Johnson, thanks for being here.
Of course.
So you're going to be on the 10 tonight, right? You got to go ready for that? All right, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. This is Newsroom Live. I'm Stephanie Bertini with the amazing, unmatched Teresa Priolo back in our newsroom.
I owe you money for that one.
So first of all, before we get into the big headline of the day, welcome back. How's it been?
It's so good to see you. It's the first time I've seen you since I've been back. It's so good to see you.
We missed you around here.
I missed you guys. Although, thank God everybody is always texting because I feel like I was so connected to everybody and I watched the newscast all the time and I was constantly, I felt like reading our emails every day.
Yep.
Even though I wasn't here.
Yes.
So I felt like I still had a foot in, which was nice.
I love it. So Teresa's now a girl mom, was already a boy mom, so you're just a mom of them all.
Three times over.
How's the baby?
She's a dream.
Yeah?
She is.
Yeah.
Girls are so great. I know we don't always get to choose, but this one is a dream.
You didn't have to choose in the end. Look
I
at
know,
you.
I know. Our surprise baby is also a girl, so it's working out great for everybody.
Well, congratulations again from all of us. We are so happy that you're here, hitting the bricks. I saw you live in Jersey, here in the newsroom,
everywhere.
doing what Teresa Priolo does best.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And they don't miss me at home at all. They're like, yeah, bye, Mom. See ya.
Well,
Catch you Saturday.
Look, they can watch you even more now. We've expanded. What do you think of Newsroom Live?
They do. They watch. And actually, funny enough, my 7-year-old said to me, Mom, you did a story about the cheetah cam at the Smithsonian Zoo, but how do I get that again? I'm like, he's retaining the info. This is good. He's watching. So.
I love it. So you're breaking down a big story.
Huge.
For 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Were you surprised by the meeting between the president and Mamdani?
I feel like I have whiplash. Like I feel like my neck hurts. No one was expecting this. No. I actually wonder if the president and the mayor-elect expected this to go as well as it did. I wonder what they were anticipating this meeting would be like, because they have both traded insults and barbs.
Right.
I mean, you just don't have to look any further than Zohran Mamdani's victory speech on election night.
Yeah. I think it's pretty much common knowledge, and not only for New Yorkers, but for others, because so many people watch the election and the days leading up to the election, and they know the sentiment and the polarizing views.
100%. I mean, and I think that a lot of Democrats or people who agree with Zohran Mamdani's approach to things were using his words from that victory speech saying, yes, this is the fight that we need. And then when Trump was calling him a communist and a nut job, they were like, exactly, this is why we don't need this. So their respective parties really honed in on what these two men said about each other. The question is, how will their comments today be perceived in the days and weeks ahead? I mean, they were so kind, so nice to each other. If I didn't know any better, I would think that they had a pre-existing friendship.
Oh, no, absolutely. I was so shocked and surprised. You know, we played the full thing, the full cut, the meeting. They talked about things that they talked about. They took questions from the media. Like you mentioned, overly cordial. I don't think any of us really expected it.
Taps on the shoulder.
Yeah.
You know, handshakes, of course.
There they are.
And I think that what both
of
them really understand, which is beneficial to those of us here in New York, is that when New York thrives, the country thrives. When the country thrives, New York thrives. They go hand in hand, and you don't have to agree with each other on each policy point by point, but you have to have sort of a basic understanding of common themes, and they do. I mean, Zohran Mamdani said this today, and the president agreed, and that the same things that won Trump the election are the same things that won Mamdani the election. Now, they're not the same approach to the same problem, but if you look at things like groceries and affordability and utility prices, they both have a path forward for this, and they both were able to draw viewers in. I heard earlier that 10% of Trump's, in New York, 10% of Trump's voters voted for Mamdani.
Did you hear that?
Now, what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? I don't know exactly what that number is, but that seems like a pretty sizable chunk if that number is to be believed.
Well, to your point, I mean, today we saw the common threads, and we saw a very cordial meeting between the two, and a lot of people are still talking about it, and I think now we want to see what happens. Of course, Mamdani, not mayor yet, soon to be mayor, and he really became well known throughout his campaign.
Yeah, and you know, the way that Trump often talks about people who are young and who are successful, Mamdani fits the bill.
Right.
He was a come-from-behind candidate. Nobody really knew about him, and then all of a sudden, boom, this guy's the guy. The same thing, politically speaking, not in terms of fame, happened to Trump.
Right.
He survived a very crowded primary the first time. He was able to surpass all of these other well-established politicians to be the guy.
And look, both politicians, both from New York, both say they love New York. Yes, different approaches, as you pointed out, Teresa, but overall, The sentiment today from the White House, from the meeting, is, look, the president said actually near the end something along the lines of, he's going to make America great again, or I believe he wants to make America great again. We all know that slogan.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the most powerful things that the president said today was, I'm not looking to hurt him. I'm looking to help him.
Right.
I want New York to thrive. Look, the president has real estate interests here. He has business interests here. This is his hometown. This is where he raised his family for the most part. And so it's in his best interest to see us succeed. I also think what was sort of interesting is one of the things that people have criticized Mamdani for is his lack of experience.
Right.
The fact that he's so young.
Right.
If you look at this strictly as a political meeting, leader to leader, you see a great maturity from Mamdani in being able to handle the president. And I wonder if they did talk about the fact that they didn't agree on a lot of things, so maybe there was polite pushback on behalf of the mayor-elect.
Right.
And I think that the president respects that he is deep in his convictions, whatever they might be, and therefore they will look to find common ground. The one thing I want to know is, did we get the Gateway Tunnel project restored? Is that money coming?
Right.
Is that, that's one of the things that everybody has been talking about. Do we have any sort of assurances that the money that the president said he was going to take out of the city has been brought back?
And so, to your point, we had an expert earlier here on Newsroom Live, and this is the thing. We want them to get along. Because if they get along, we need the feds, they need us, so to speak. We know that President Trump, he always says he loves New York City. This is good for New Yorkers. A good meeting today overall. A poised and professional Mamdani.
Yeah.
And a very kind President Trump.
And I also think the positioning of the two men here, if you just look at it from an optics standpoint, is also really interesting. The president behind the Resolute desk,
right.
The mayor-elect a beat behind, standing almost in deference to the president. I mean, there is a respect here. Again, we don't know what their true opinions are.
Right.
Maybe this was politics at play.
Yep.
But maybe we can hope, if we're not so cynical, that they really did find the common ground they said they did, that they will work to improve the things that they both agree need improving.
Yes.
And that we'll all benefit for in the long run. And the president said parties don't matter. This is about fixing things for people that are broken. So we'll see.
More to see.
Either way, we're talking about it.
New York City making history again. Teresa Priolo on the big story again.
Thank
We're
you.
so happy you're back with us again.
Thank you. Good to
Teresa.
see you. I appreciate it.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. $8:15 Friday night. Hi everyone. This is Newsroom Live. I'm Stephanie Bertini. Thanks for watching. We're going to bring in a woman named Allison Martinez. She's the CEO and founder of Brooklyn Level Up to talk about an interesting project, an art project kind of, also public education, East Flatbush. This weekend we're talking flooding, the beauty of it, what you need to know, et cetera, right? Is that a good summary?
That's a good summary.
Tell us a bit about this. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. So really what we're looking to do is find an opportunity to help our community deal with and thrive in the face of what are now becoming unprecedented floods. Climate change, the impact of it, we're feeling it as ground zero, but there is an opportunity for us to educate ourselves and also to find strategies to mitigate the damage. Because in reality, flood damage is also a housing justice issue.
100%. And there's reasons, many reasons, like frequency, that you just kind of tapped on that point, why the public needs to be more educated about this, right? So it looks like you guys are finding a way to do it. Interactive, art, a little this, a little that, all about community. What can we expect this weekend?
What you can expect is a community art experience. We're inviting our community residents and our community partners to come out. We were lucky enough to be chosen by Rebuild by Design for the Rainproof NYC cohort, where we're able to do essentially create a toolkit of resources that are available to community residents when it rains. And the reason why it is because it is a stenciled art piece that gets sprayed out on the ground, but with a hydrophobic paint that you can only see when it rains. And so it's a way for it to be present, but beautiful, but an opportunity for people to really interact with resources in a different way.
You know, I'm interested to see some of the art or the inspo because I think water is really interesting. My perspective as a reporter, of course, we see the brutality and sometimes the fact that it can be downright deadly, covering floods and other major weather events where water is part of the equation. But then on the other end, water seen as, you know, nourishing, giving life. Watering plants important. You know, children are taught about the benefits of water in school. Like I tell my son, he's 6, make sure you drink your water. You have to stay hydrated, right? So there's that juxtaposition. So it'd be interesting to see if that, the beauty of it, the life source of it, and then the danger of it comes out in the art.
I think our goal is really to help our community learn how to live with water. The reality is, for decades, you've had certain people in certain blocks who've complained about flooding, but now that's becoming more of a prevalent reality for more people in more communities. That's disinvestment, that's lack of infrastructure, but this is a call to action for community residents to come together to design, to collect stories about what's been happening, get the data that doesn't show up on the general maps. Like we're really uncovering the hidden data of what's been happening in these communities.
Oh my goodness, I just had a flashback because we were showing some video of vehicles driving through water and then submerged in water. When I lived in Miami when my son was just a baby, toddler baby, but you know, he was in the back seat, in the car seat. I was driving and there had been a big rain and there was a little flooding and I drove through and the vehicle actually stopped, and to the eye it didn't look to be damaging. My point being though, this is why that public education is so important. Often I've covered stories over the years where, you know, there's major flooding, people think like, oh, I can leave my house, and then, you know, they get injured or worse because they're sort of underestimating the danger of the flooding. And as you pointed out, it's important to let people know, look, this is going to increase in frequency when we're talking through the context of flooding and the reality, and also like something that we're going to have to learn to accept and live with.
Exactly. But there are also ways that we can find the way to mitigate. And that's where we're partnering with Forward, Flatbush Workshop for Design, which is one of our community partners, which helped us actually craft this toolkit, taking resources that may be city data, but also adding in natural planting options, ways to advocate and get community to rally together, to work together to figure out what are the solutions for what we're facing, and bringing that, and along with partnership with our elected officials, to really think through what are the next steps for how we're going to live, but also still manage to thrive as a community in the face of climate change.
So is this a Saturday, Sunday thing? Is it a one-day thing? And what should people know if they're interested in taking part, attending, showing up? Give us some details.
Sure. So it's open to the public. We will be at 640 Parkside Avenue, which is between Nostrand and Rogers, between 1 and 4 p.m. And you will be able to come. There'll be interactive tables, food. So we really want you to come and partake. And as well as you'll get to experience working with some of our partners, such as Forward, Field Form, Rebuild by Design. You'll have people doing story collection, showing you who the artisans are that you can contact to help you design solutions for any flooding issues that you may have. And we want you to go to rainactivated.org, which is a special landing page we've created where you'll be able to access the toolkit. There'll be other resources available there. You'll also be able to even see how you may be at risk based on your address. You can input it, and with our partner Field Form, they've created a data map that will show you exactly what your risk would be.
Allison Martinez, CEO and founder of Brooklyn Level Up. Thank you so much for being with us on a Friday night.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Enjoy the weekend. I hope you get good numbers.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, we're going to take a quick break. This is Newsroom Live. Welcome back, everyone. 8:23 on this Friday night. I'm Stephanie Bertini coming to you live from the Fox 5 Newsroom. So, you know what next week is, right? The beginning of the holiday season, Thanksgiving. We're coming up on that week. And, you know, you could be around the table. You could be enjoying the meal. Let's say extended families over, conversations start, and then, you know, certain topics, the things you say, the things you don't say. Probably not a good idea to ask a relative who hasn't opened up about a recent breakup, about the recent breakup during the meal, and things like that. We have Dr. Chloe. She's here to talk about what you should and should not say when you're enjoying your Thanksgiving meal. Thanks for being with us, Dr. Chloe.
Thanks, Stephanie. It's great to be with you.
So, you wrote a book. It's called Can I Say That? There's some copies behind you. And so you've kind of authored things that, you know, you should and should not say in certain settings, different dialogues, setting appropriate or not, time and place type of thing, right?
Yeah. So, you know, really it felt to me like with, you know, cancel culture and everybody's so worried about saying the wrong thing sometimes, I just wanted people to know that there's actually a lot of mental health benefits to speaking your mind and, you know, being free to say what you really think, but also making space for other people to say whatever is, you know, really what they think. I just think people have gotten so nervous about cancel culture that they need to know it's actually good for you cognitively, emotionally, and socially to be authentic.
So when we get to the Thanksgiving table, what are some things that you would say are definite no topics?
Well, you mentioned a good one actually already. Like, obviously, if you know that somebody has gone through a painful breakup or, they've had job loss is an interesting one. I mean, because I think sometimes we can be so afraid of, stepping on people that we can actually lose our sense of intimacy. So it is okay sometimes to say to someone like, how are you doing? I know it wasn't the easiest year for you. How are you doing? Without necessarily like hitting the nail on the head. Like, I know, your husband left you or, whatever the case may be. But to just in a gentle way, you can say, I know that things have been a little challenging. How are you holding up?
Yeah. I think it comes down to two things, and correct me if I'm wrong or if we should consider some other factors, but there's culture and then there's personality. Like, I come from a big Italian family. Personality, my personality, extrovert, I'm generally an open book. But, I have some relatives, cousins, for example, that are a bit more introverted. So maybe the conversation about something that, they haven't opened up publicly about might not be fitting for the setting of, being around the table and eating a meal. But, maybe after, when we're all kind of mingling around, or before, having a glass of wine or, having some hors d'oeuvres or something like that, it could be kind of a one-on-one conversation. So I think you kind of got to know who you're talking to and also what's appropriate in certain households. And that's where I think culture intersects.
That's a really good point. So yeah, I mean, certainly if you know that someone has something that they haven't opened up publicly about, pouncing on, them in front of everyone could be really off-putting to them. But on the other hand, as you said, definitely following up later. I do find though that politics is always the hot button issue that people are always like, oh, should we talk about it or not? And again, I feel like if we just zip ourselves too much, people feel like they're in a verbal straitjacket. So I want people to be able to, be themselves, and even if they may disagree about topics, to be able to disagree agreeably instead of just everybody feeling like they have to have their Sunday manners on, to the point where people are not even being real with each other.
So to your point with the whole cancel culture thing, it's like we can't be afraid to speak overall. Like, we got to bring back some of that authenticity. I think that's what you're saying. And I think it's a good point. I remember when I was a kid, my grandmother used to tell my grandfather, don't talk politics and religion when we go to these people's houses, right? And then, like, he always did. So some of that conviction, I guess you're a healthy dose of being able to say what you want to say, but also respecting viewpoints. I mean, if we say nothing, there'll be nothing to talk about, right?
Exactly. But I mean, your grandmother was right for sure. I mean, if you're going to a business dinner or something, you don't want to bring up anything where there could be necessarily any disagreement.
Right.
But I think that with our family, with the people that we're spending Thanksgiving with, I mean, if you think about it, of all holidays, Thanksgiving, it's like about the founding of America and free speech. If we can't talk about politics at this point, I mean, because politics really just means our values, about our shared public spaces. And so I just think we have to be able to navigate our differences peacefully.
We're looking at some video of like the traditional American Thanksgiving meal. And I think, a lot of people go for round 2, round 3. It's like an extended process. So, it's a social experience as well with family. Sometimes people celebrate with friends or with neighbors. And so to your point, I mean, you're going to talk, right? What are some good topics you think that are, in general for a setting like this, or overall always green light topics?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Stephanie. So I do think it's good to have, about 5 good small talk topics when you go into a situation like that, so that, if a topic does come up that's a little sensitive and you want to be on that topic for a moment, but then you want to be able to pivot away from it, it's good to have about 5 good small talk topics. And so that can be anything from, future travel plans that you've got on the books or that they do, or, somebody's birthday's coming up, or, job situations, arts, arts and culture. But these things all seem super obvious when we're in our calm state of mind, but in the moment they can be hard to think of.
Right, especially if you're nervous or if there's something like the comfort isn't really there, right? Like the social comfort, I guess.
Yeah, so a little game plan can go a long way.
Yeah, asking about the kids, how so-and-so doing in grade 1, for example, or whatever it may be. These are all things that I guess are socially acceptable. But to your point, we can't be scared to talk. Just kind of a little vetting of time and place and, you know, who's there maybe.
Exactly, the time, place, and manner situation, right? Even that's what the Supreme Court calls it, is that we have to have the right time, place, and manner. And definitely, as you said, I always want to be respectful, but it's also really important to listen. When these sensitive topics come up, a lot of times people are thinking, oh, well, what should I say? Is it okay to say this or say that? But they don't necessarily think a lot about making sure that they show that they're listening. So it's always helpful, too, to ask questions and ask people, well, tell me more about why you think that way, or have you always felt that way, or how did you arrive at that, you know, position? Because the more we listen, the more people will be open to hearing our opinions too.
The art of conversation involves a lot of listening, and that's what they say. The best journalists are listeners, actually. I've been told that for years while practicing, so that's an interesting point. So you wrote that book, Can I Say That? And is this sort of like a snippet of what can be kind of applied, but it's kind of what you talk about, right? The spaces, the social spaces, what you should say, what you should not say, not censoring too much, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I mean, I never want to tell people what they should or shouldn't say, but part 1 of the book is about the mental health benefits of free speech. So when we speak freely and authentically, our cognition actually becomes sharper. It's one of the ways our brain works things out is through dialogue, like through figuring things out by talking. It's also how we emotionally regulate ourselves. So people who bottle things up too much because they feel like they have to hold it all in, it's really not good for their emotions. Our cortisol levels go down, and we experience like what's called neural coupling, where your brain actually really gets in sync with someone when you're being authentic. So part 1 of the book explains why to be authentic. And then part 2 is tools to do it, about how to speak up, how to listen better, that kind of stuff.
Info we can all use as we're now less than a week away from Thanksgiving. Dr. Chloe, thanks for being with us, sharing the do's and don'ts, what's to say, what not to say, topics you can talk about while you're having your Thanksgiving meal. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Stephanie. They can get more at freespeechtoday.com. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dr. Chloe. All right, guys, we're going to take a short break. Breaking news in the Fox 5 newsroom right now. Welcome back. This is Newsroom Live, and we're just getting word that Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, once a loyal Trump supporter, the president's supporter, she is resigning from Congress in January, according to this report just into the newsroom. You're looking at video of Greene there, again, resigning from Congress. She made the announcement in a more than 10-minute video posted online explaining her decision. She said she's always been, quote, despised in Washington, D.C. and just never fit in. Again, breaking news to the Fox 5 newsroom. We're taking a look at that video now. Let's listen in.
To hate the other side more. And the results are always the same. No matter which way the political pendulum swings, Republican or Democrat, nothing ever gets better for the common American man or woman. The debt goes higher, corporate and global interests remain Washington's sweethearts, American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor by visas or just shipped overseas. Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest. And the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive on a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream. And that breaks my heart. I ran for Congress in 2020 and have fought every single day believing that Make America Great Again meant America first. I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress, defending the First Amendment, Second Amendment, unborn babies because I believe God creates life at conception, and I love to fight for the little guy. Strong, safe borders, I have fought hard for that. I've fought against COVID tyrannical insanity and mandated mass vaccinations, and I've never voted to fund foreign wars with your hard-earned tax dollars. However, with almost 1 year into our majority, the legislature has been mostly sidelined. We endured an 8-week shutdown, wrongly, resulting in the House not working for the entire time, and we are entering campaign season, which means all courage leaves and only safe campaign re-election mode is turned on in the House of Representatives. During the longest shutdown in our nation's history, I raged against my own speaker and my own party for refusing to proactively work diligently to pass the plan to save Americans' health care and protect Americans from outrageous, overpriced, and unaffordable health insurance policies. The House should have been in session working every day to fix this disaster. But instead, America was force-fed disgusting political drama once again from both sides of the aisle on television every single day. My bills, which reflect many of President Trump's executive orders, like calling for a new census counting Americans only to draw new districts, making English the official language of the U.S., making it a felony to medically trans a minor, and other bills like eliminating capital gains taxes on the sale of your primary home and eliminating H-1B visas just sit. They all sit collecting dust. That's how it is for most members of Congress bills. The Speaker never brings them to the floor for a vote. Many common Americans are no longer easily convinced by paid political propaganda spokespersons and consultants on TV and paid shills on social media obediently serving with cult-like conviction to force others to swallow the political party talking points. Because they know how much credit card debt they have, they know how much their bills have gone up over the past 5 years, they actually do their own grocery shopping and know food costs too much, their rent has increasingly gone up and up, they have been outbid by corporate asset managers too many times when they put in an offer to buy a house, they have been laid off after being forced to train their visa-holding replacement. The college degree they were told to earn only left them in debt with no big six-figure salary. They see more homeless people than ever on their own community streets. They can't afford health insurance or practically any insurance, and they just aren't stupid. These are the people I represent and love because that is who all of my family and friends are, common Americans. I've been blessed to represent the 14th District of Georgia for 5 years. The district is filled with some of the most wonderful, kind-hearted, God-fearing, patriotic, hardworking people you will ever meet. Good, regular, common Americans. I've worked hard to bring taxpayer dollars back home to help district needs. I impeached Biden's Secretary of Homeland after watching my constituents die as he facilitated dangerous open border invasion into America. And I led the effort to defund hard-left politically biased NPR and PBS and the corrupt USAID, and I did that as chair of the DOJ subcommittee. I have fought harder than almost any other elected Republican to elect Donald Trump and Republicans to power. I traveled the country for years. I spent millions of my own money. I missed precious time with my family that I can never get back.
Again, breaking news in the Fox 5 newsroom, United States Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene announcing she's resigning from Congress. That was a good chunk of a 10-minute video she posted to social media. We took that directly from her page, her X page, her social media page. She also put a statement there, and we have some of that on that screen over there, calling it the my official statement. Marjorie Taylor Greene giving reasons for her resignation from Congress, and providing an official statement here on social media. Definitely a sign of the times, for sure. So if you want to hear that in full, you can, of course, find that video online. This is Newsroom Live. It's 8:41 Friday night. I'm Stephanie Bertini. We're taking a quick break. When I come back, we're talking sports with our Jen Williams. Stay with us. This is Newsroom Live, and I'm here with Jen Williams. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Stephanie.
We're
Our
gonna
first
talk
time
sports.
together.
I know. We love Newsroom Live. This is where we bring our viewers behind the scenes.
Yes, and today was a perfect day for us to make our debut because it's ahead of Thanksgiving. Both the Mets and the Yankees did their annual giving celebrations, and earlier today in Washington Heights, the Mets, it's their 11th annual Mets Giving, get it?
Mets Giving, I love
turkey
it.
giveaway. And as you can see, they have bags, and they were filled with like produce.
Wow.
And you'll see the you'll see the bird.
The bird? So the bird and the fixings and the sides and everything you need?
Yes. And then third baseman Mark Vientos was on hand to help with the giveaway, and of course, Mr. and Mrs. Met. You gotta love that. And
they gotta be anywhere the Mets are.
The bird, exactly.
They are the birds.
There's Mr. Met. He's serving as a bouncer as everyone's going to get their turkeys. You know, again, everyone was so, you just get a smile on your face every time you see Mr. and Mrs. Met. Mark didn't tell us a whole lot about what he's doing in the off season, but again, he's a Connecticut native, so he's often back for these type of events, and it's really awesome because last year or the year before they also do like a Christmas thing where they give kids gifts, and Mark, who is, you know, again, a professional baseball player dressed up as an elf, he was a very tall elf.
Oh, I love that.
So it was a good image. Let's hear from Mark right now. Swaggy V,
awesome.
as he's known.
I was just saying how giving back to the community, and especially for Thanksgiving, when Thanksgiving is to be with family and enjoy time with family, and seeing how everybody's getting turkeys with smiles on their faces is awesome.
Mark, obviously a down year for you last year relative to the year prior. What have you done in the all-season plans getting ready for next year?
Just getting back to the drawing boards, just figuring out what went wrong this past season, and what can I do better for the team. I think offensively and defensively I could improve, and I'm excited just to get back. This is awesome.
So Swaggy V, Swaggy V, not giving a lot to us about what he's doing this off season, just back to square one.
He was there for the cause today, and the cause was making sure everyone has a good Thanksgiving. You know, it's nice to see franchise teams, players with local connections coming out, especially at this time of year.
Yes, and we were at the location in Washington Heights, but they were giving out turkeys at a location across the 5 boroughs. It's just super incredible. And the Yankees later today, I was actually up in the Bronx. The Yankees held a Thanksgiving feast, and it is actually catered by Legends Global, which is their in-house catering service. So this is like a gourmet turkey feast, and
so nice.
It looked absolutely incredible, and over 750 local residents.
This was in the Bronx, you said,
yes,
Jen?
it was at the Reverend T. Wendell Foster Park and Recreation Center, which is really cool, right behind Yankee Stadium.
Love it.
It was from about 4 to 6 p.m., and they fed so many families, lots of kids. You know, we can actually queue up. We heard from their executive chef. This takes quite a lot of time to plan.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of work,
A lot of food, a lot of troughs of food.
Let's listen.
To partner with an organization like SCAN on behalf of the Yankees and provide so many people in the community with a delicious hot meal.
It's an amazing feeling that we get to get together with Stan and take care of all these children for this Thanksgiving feed. It's an amazing thing that we take pride in it every single year, and it just warms our hearts.
What goes into the planning for cooking this much food for all these kids and adults?
Well, it takes us about 3 months to get ready for something like this. So we get a bunch of donations. All our purveyors donate all of this food. And then the culinary crew comes in on a Monday, we get all the product, and then we cook all the wonderful things you see here today.
And I've heard that the menu is like next level of Thanksgiving. What are some bells and whistles, maybe your favorite dish out of the spread today?
My favorite, of course, it's not the kids' favorite, is a green bean casserole. But I think we also have Moro rice and beans as well, just for the kids that don't want to have turkey or the stuffing, and cranberry sauce. It's amazing.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Nothing. It's just amazing feeling getting to serve all of these kids and give them a nice warm meal and to give back to the community.
Thank you so much. What's it like to be here with the Yankees and SCAN putting on an event like this ahead of Thanksgiving?
It's very exciting and very, very, very well respected for the simple fact that they do this every single year. They do it for the kids, the families, the community. They look out, they come out, they just make sure everybody's good during these holidays. People that don't have anybody, come on out, it's full of love, fun, everything.
And you know what, can I put you down as are you a resident of the Bronx?
I am.
Perfect. And what's been your favorite dish tonight?
One of my favorite dishes was the macaroni, but do not tell my mother.
How much fun are you having tonight?
Lots of fun.
And what's been your favorite thing to eat?
The favorite thing to eat is the desserts.
And can I talk to you as well? What's your name?
Cartier.
And what's been your favorite thing to eat?
Mashed potatoes and the mom.
And how much fun are you having?
Lots of fun.
Perfect. Thank you.
I love that, Jen. They said we got some kids with sweet tooth.
Yes,
My
and
son
they were
has a
so
sweet
good.
tooth,
They
too.
stole the show. You know, that was in partnership. It's actually SCAN, or the Supportive Children's Advocacy Network, that hosts that event, and the Yankees have been a part of
nice.
it for 10 years. And we heard from, you know, executives from both the Yankees and SCAN, and honestly, those kids stole the show. It was just really, really sweet. And again, that center was an incredible place to host it, and the kids were just having a great time. And again, it's just it's a little pre-Thanksgiving meal, getting your belly ready for the feast.
for the big show.
For the big show.
Good assignment for you. Did you guys get to eat?
We did not. You know, it was for a good cause.
Yeah,
so I
okay.
was eyeing that pumpkin pie, though.
Were you? You know what gets you excited for the meal that's about to come, right?
Yes, and I couldn't cheat on my auntie. I got to have my auntie's.
You're waiting a
pumpkin.
couple more days.
Exactly.
But a nice look at the news gathering process. Like, often our viewers don't see sort of the behind the scenes of the asking the questions. You know, when we're doing packages, news packages or stories for TV, we're picking sound bites. But you could kind of let us listen to a bit more here on
Yes,
Newsroom
I
Live.
thought that the executive chef, that was Robert Flowers. With he's the executive chef for Yankee Stadium, and it was really interesting hearing him talk and how much work goes on to put on something like this, to feed 750 people.
Yep.
And again, you know, one thing, I gave those kids a high five
I love
afterwards,
it.
because they crushed it. They crushed it.
So cute. And it kind of reminds us, you know, an assignment like this, what this time of year is really about. It's about being grateful. It's about giving back, helping when you can, appreciating what you have.
And I love kicking it off ahead of the Thanksgiving week.
I'm ready for it, Jen.
Right.
Look, we're wearing coats. The holidays are here. It's about to be Thanksgiving.
You've got your burgundy on, which I love.
I do. I got my burgundy nails too.
Ooh, I love them. I see these are like pumpkin. I have like pumpkin spice nails going on. And so also some big news for the Liberty. We love some news dropping on a Friday afternoon. They have reportedly hired a new head coach, Chris DeMarco. He was an assistant with the Warriors, just another hiring out of the NBA. He was in various roles with the Warriors since 2011. So actually the longest tenured member of that coaching staff. And he actually started, great story here, started in the film room and worked his way up.
Wow.
So very entry level,
That's amazing. So he's kind of earned it.
serving. He's seen as a defensive guru. The consensus is he's a very big culture guy. And of course, look, he's going to be stepping into a situation where it is win now. The Liberty, of course, won their first ever championship back in 2024.
Right.
Fell kind of short this year. They still have to lock up some of their stars, their big stars, Jonquel Jones, Sabrina Ionescu, and Brianna Stewart. They are free agents. More likely than not, they'll be back in New York. But, you know, he's got a lot of work to do, so we'll see if he's up to the task. Big shoes to fill left by Sandy Brondello, who's now coaching the Toronto Tempo.
So we'll have to see how this all plays out. But thanks for keeping us up to speed with the breaking sports news on a Friday night. Here we are.
Yes, we were driving up to the Bronx, and I was like, would you look at that?
Jen was in the Bronx, Washington Heights. You've been all around.
Yeah,
well,
all over.
It's Friday. Everyone's getting ready for the weekend, but for us, of course, we work on weekends. Here in newsrooms.
And Stephanie, would you like to know what a busy weekend is in New York sports? We got the NWSL championship. We got Gotham FC taking on the Washington Spirit for their second championship. In second in 3 years. That's going to be at 8 p.m. They're in California. Ladies trying to get the job done. I mean, the ladies bringing the city championships. We love it. We love it. And the men play on Sunday at NYCFC, taking on the Philly Union in Philly. That's at 7:45. That's the Eastern Conference Finals of MLS Cup. And then 1 p.m. we got Giants in Detroit taking on the Lions. Jameis Winston is going to get his second start in a row. Jackson Dart still in has not cleared concussion protocol, and Jets are in Baltimore taking on the Ravens. Both 1 p.m. games. And I will have a recap on Sports Extra.
Well, Jen Williams, of course, it's women that rock our sports department, Jen and Tina.
Ladies
so
want
shout
us
out.
to
There
sing,
you go, with the nails and everything. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Thanks, Jen. 8:57. Welcome back. You're in the Fox 5 Newsroom. This is Newsroom Live. You're looking at a shot outside. Beautiful New York City. We love New York City. We're on the Upper East Side, our headquarters for Fox 5. I'm Stephanie Bertini. Thank you for being with us. It's Friday night. What are your plans? Everybody's getting ready. We were talking about it before we took the break for next week, Thanksgiving. A lot of people are excited to get together with family and friends. Maybe some of you are traveling. Of course, this is the weekend. Some already calling it Thanksgiving weekend. But earlier with Liv Johnson on Newsroom Live, I was like, isn't the weekend after Thanksgiving weekend? Well, I guess if you're traveling the whole time, it's all Thanksgiving weekend. Nevertheless, the holidays are basically here. And so that means that your weather matters. You're going to want to know what you need to know. That 7-day forecast, Liv Johnson left it for us. Take a look there. You see tomorrow, we're in the 50s, a chance of some rain in the morning, but overall not too bad. Sunday, 49 degrees, your low 39. Look at Monday. Monday is a day that would be good to be off work. Sunshine, 54 degrees. The low is 40. Not bad at all for a fall day. 54 as we get into Tuesday. We see some showers, PM showers in the forecast there. Wednesday, you see that we're hitting 61 degrees. That's warm. Your low 51. Everyone keeping an eye on Thursday. That's, of course, when the Thanksgiving Day parade, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, a lot of us, we wait for it for the whole year. So the forecast matters because if you're bringing the kids, you want to know what to dress them or how to dress them. If you got to layer them, what you got to do. So keep an eye on that as we get closer to Thanksgiving holiday. And then Friday, 46 is the high. 36 is the low. Wishing you all a wonderful weekend, no matter what it is that you have planned. We're always here working for you in the Fox 5 Newsroom, following the local, national, international headlines and what you need to know. I'm Stephanie Bertini. Thanks for being with us. This is Newsroom Live.